Crimson and Clover, Joan Jett. This, of course, is a cover of the Tommy James and the Shondells version. This version is a little more kind of, rocking and like concise, I guess. There isn't a whole lot of all that like wild like soloing and all that stuff in the middle. So a little bit easier version to play here, and arguably maybe the more popular version. So just to jump right in, this is kind of a two guitar composition going on here. They're more or less pretty similar. It's just one kind of does a little more than the other. So we'll start with this intro and verse for the first guitar. And basically this one is just going to be hitting 3 chords for the first 4 measures. Okay, so the first measure, it's going to get all the way to that last beat. And we're just going to be messing around with some power chords here, some 5 chords. Okay, so it's going to be a C power chord. So, 3 on the A, 5, 5 on the D and G. And we're just going to hit that very last beat of the first measure. And then once more to just start the next measure. Alright. And then we do up a set to the G5 now, the G power chord. Okay, and then we hit that twice. Okay, down 2 frets for the F. Alright, and then we're going to hit this just before the measure's out, and then once again when the next measure starts. Okay, and then from there, this guitar, the first guitar, will just kind of rest for the next measure until we get to that last count again, and then we just repeat the process. Okay, so it would be something like this. Okay, and we would go through that 3 times, and then once we get to the 4th time of it here, it pretty much starts the same all the way till we get to that F. Okay, but now we're just going to add a couple more strums on that F. Okay, then we come up to the G and just add a few more strums on that G throughout the next measure. Okay, so something like. Alright, and then we would get into the more, the fuller verse, I guess you would say, where all the other instruments come in. Okay, so as I said, now we're into that, the fuller part of the verse with like the drums and the bass and all that stuff. And it's the first guitar pretty much continues on with that intro verse progression. Goes through it 3 times, just the way it did in the intro. Okay, just like that. And then we get to the 4th time, and everything was just the same now, and kind of continues, but we just add some chords at the end. Okay, so we go through it, the progression once again. Once we get to this F, we're going to do this little bit where we kind of strum a couple, pairs on it. We go like, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and then it comes up to the G chord and does the same thing. Okay, so it sounds something like this that last time through. Alright, and for as far as what the second guitar is doing through the intro and the verse here, it's following the other guitar just the same with our same progression. But this guitar just kind of adds a couple of chords where the other one was resting. Okay, so the other one would rest after that F. Okay, but this guitar, the second one, just before that measure is out, it's going to come up and hit that G chord again. Alright, and then it goes to a quick little B chord here. So second A, 4, 4 on the D and G here. And this is just kind of like a lead-in chord to get back to our C to start the whole thing over again. So it's like a... Okay, something like that. So it goes through this progression 3 times. So only a slight difference there, but still enough to warrant a new guitar, I suppose. And this pretty much ends the same way as the other guitar. How the other guitar goes through it 3 times, does it the 4th time, and then comes back and then hits, a couple more Fs. Okay, it does the same thing that the first guitar does. Alright, and with this second guitar, once the verse gets full and everybody comes in, it's doing the same thing it was doing in the intro. Okay, it's doing that same deal, and it's going to end, it'll go through that 3 times, and it'll do its 4th time the same way that the first guitar does, where it just adds more F strums in a kind of doubled style, and then adds the G chords in a more of a double style. Okay, so. Okay, just like the first guitar. All right, and now we get to this kind of up-tempo instrumental interlude section, and essentially it's just 3 chords, and then it'll end in a different chord here, but we're just going C chord, power chord here, just a couple times. Okay, now we go down to a new chord here. We go to the B flat on the 1A3 on the D and G. Hit that a couple times, and then come all the way up here for that high-voiced F power chord on the 8A10 on the D and G. A couple times. Okay, so something like that. And we just go through that kind of an odd number of times, about 5 times. Okay, and then once we get through it 5 times, or however many times you feel like doing it, then we just get to this G chord and just basically just strum it 9 times. Okay, a good couple measures worth, and then 1 to just ring out the measure. Alright, and then we would get right back into our verse progression. Okay, and the only thing different about the second verse after that first interlude section is that it's really just that second guitar going on, and the other one drops out so that all the vocal can be clear, I guess. But it's just kind of that one guitar, the more involved guitar with the... Okay, so that's the guitar going on there, and this one ends a little different. It's the same. It ends with the same chords. It's just we do some of them longer than we usually do. So we get through that last progression, and once we get to the F, we give a good 2 measures worth of this F, and it's basically just kind of single strumming it, just 8 times basically. Okay, and then we come up to the G, and now we do this G for a good while. We do about 4 measures worth of this G, so 16 strums essentially. Okay, we go through the instrumental again, and then we get to this outro section where we add this arpeggio now. And basically we're just coming up and doing high voicings of the usual progression we do, but we're just arpeggiating like the bottom half of it. So we're going to hit the C chord way up here at the 9 on the G, 8/8 on the B and E. Just pick down through it and back up to the B. And that's how we're going to pick all of these, just down through it and then back up to the B. Okay, and then we shift a little bit because we got to jump up a set of strings. So next we do the G, which would be 12 on the D, G, and B. Okay, so we're just going to go D, G, B, G. Okay, move down to the 10s, do the same thing. Okay, that's our F, and then we come back to the G. Okay, and we just pick through that about 8 times, I would think. Alright, and there'll be another guitar that'll just be kind of, during this section, the outro, it'll just be hitting the basic chords. So just doing like a C at the first and last count of the measure. And then to a G, same deal. To F. Back to G. Okay, and then after the arpeggiation happens about 8 times, I would say, then we kind of come up and we do this high-voiced chord with these accent notes on it. We're going to come up and do the C chord, bar chord, way up here on the 8th fret. Just bar that. 10, 10 on the A and D, 9 on the G. You can just strum through it, it's fine. But then we're going to take our pinky and we're going to do, with that 8 on the B, we do that 8B, come down to a 10B, back to the 8B. Because this is the accent that we want throughout all these chord changes here. I want that to happen. So, okay, and then we move up to 10A, 12s on the DGB, and then we're going to do that 12 on the G to 14, back to 12. Okay, because we want that same little accent there. And now we move down 2 frets, so we're at 8A, 10, 10, 10 on the DGB. But here, we want to have it, a 12 on the G loaded up. So we're kind of doing a F suspended 2 there, really high voiced. Okay, because we're going to hit that, and then we're going to hit the 10 on the B that we're fretting here, under that. Okay, kind of that same little progression there. Okay, and then come back to the G. Okay, so just get that down and get it together here. Thanks for checking out the video, everybody. Like it, share it, leave a comment. It's always good to hear from you. Do me a favor and hit the subscription button. I put out a video pretty frequent, so you don't want to miss out on that. Check out the links in the description box below. I have really cool links for tablature books, all the gear I use, t-shirts, fun stuff like that. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.